Listen to me. Everybody talks. Everybody's got something to say, but very few people speak with power. Very few speak with purpose. You out here wasting words when you should be building worlds. You talking just to talk. You loud, but you're not impactful. You present, but you're not powerful. And the truth is, silence has more value than most of the noise people put out every single day. You want to grow? Learn to value silence. Because silence is discipline, silence is training, silence is focus, silence is healing, silence is where you hear your soul. Some of you are scared of silence because when you get quiet, the real you shows up. The pain, the fears, the truth you've been running from, it starts to speak. But you need that because only when you've been broken in silence can you rebuild with intention. And once you've been through the fire of silence, once you faced your demons in that stillness, then your words carry weight. Then your voice has thunder. Then your speech can shake mountains. You don't need to talk just to impress. You don't need to comment on everything. You don't need to post every move. Some of y'all will be 10 times more powerful if you just shut your mouth and let your actions speak. Silence is power when you use it right. Silence is your preparation. It's where you sharpen your sword. And when the time comes to speak, you don't drop words, you drop impact. You don't drop gossip, you drop gold. You don't drop opinions, you drop solutions. You don't drop complaints, you drop conviction. See, some of y'all still talking small because you haven't sat in silence long enough to think big. You haven't built the character in the quiet to speak with clarity in the storm. When you open your mouth, make sure it's not just noise, make sure it's purpose. Make sure it's vision, make sure it's legacy. You've got too much greatness in you to waste words on things that don't matter. People who really move the world don't talk all day. They talk when it matters. They speak when it builds. They speak when it inspires. They speak when their silence has transformed into wisdom. So from this moment forward, I want you to shift. Don't speak to be heard. Speak to be felt. Don't speak to fill space. Speak to shift atmospheres. Speak with love. Speak with fire. Speak with discipline. Speak when your soul is ready. Speak when your voice has been baptized in silence. Speak only when your words are better than your silence, because that's when you stop talking and you start transforming. Silence builds discipline, clarity, and inner strength. In a world full of constant noise, notifications, and distractions, silence is one of the most undervalued assets a person can have. Most people are uncomfortable with silence because it forces them to confront themselves. It strips away the layers, the excuses, and the illusions. It puts you face to face with your real thoughts, your real fears, your real desires. That discomfort is the beginning of discipline. When you can sit in silence and not reach for your phone, not look for a distraction, not feel the need to speak just to fill the space, you're training your mind to be focused, your heart to be still, and your spirit to be centered. Silence isn't weakness, it's control. It's choosing not to speak just to be heard. It's choosing not to react to every emotion. It's choosing to listen and observe and let the moment shape you before you try to shape it. People who master silence understand that discipline doesn't always come with noise. It often comes with stillness. It's in the early mornings when no one is watching, when the world is quiet and you're alone with your goals. That's where character is built. That's where vision is born. That's where you learn to do the hard things without the applause. You learn to suffer in silence so that later your results speak louder than anything you ever could. Silence teaches restraint. It teaches timing. It teaches the value of your energy. You begin to understand that every reaction isn't worth your peace. Every argument isn't worth your breath. Every opinion doesn't deserve a reply. You realize you don't have to be everywhere, say everything, do everything to prove you are something. You just need to be locked in, quiet, unshaken, focused. Clarity comes when the world fades and you can finally hear your own voice without the echo of the crowd. Silence isn't just the absence of noise, it's the presence of awareness. When you embrace silence, your thoughts become sharper. You start to see what matters and what doesn't. The fog clears, the distractions fall away. You stop chasing everything and start building something. It's where you get to ask the hard questions. Who am I? What do I want? Why does it matter? You can't answer those with noise around you. Silence brings truth to the surface. It reveals what you've been hiding under busyness. It makes you confront what you need to fix. It doesn't give you the luxury of escape. It forces you to grow. Inner strength is built in that environment. When you go through trials and keep your mouth shut, when you feel like quitting but choose to keep going without announcing it to the world, when you learn to sit in silence instead of seeking validation, That's where real toughness forms. It's not in the volume of your voice, but the depth of your character. When you're no longer shaken by silence, you're grounded in something greater. Words should carry purpose, not just fill space. In today's world, everyone wants to be heard, but very few people ask themselves why they are speaking. So many conversations are just noise, empty phrases, pointless opinions, mindless chatter. People speak without thinking, post without purpose, react without reflection. But words are not meant to be wasted. They are tools, weapons, seeds, bridges. They carry power when used with intention. They have the ability to build up or break down, to inspire or to insult, to lead or to mislead. That kind of power demands responsibility. It demands thought. It demands purpose. Speaking just because there's silence in the room is like throwing bricks in the air and hoping they land in the shape of a house. It doesn't work like that. You don't build anything valuable by being careless with your words. You build by choosing each one deliberately, like laying foundation stone by stone. Every time you speak, you are either adding something or taking something away. You are either building connection or creating confusion. The right words, spoken at the right time with the right heart, can save a life, change a direction, spark a movement. But the wrong words, reckless, selfish, careless, can cut deep, leave scars, and cause damage that lasts for years. That's why people who truly understand the value of words are slow to speak. Not because they are shy or uncertain, but because they are calculating the weight of their message. They understand that what they say matters. They know that once something leaves their lips, they can't take it back. The damage or the blessing is already done. There are people out there who use words as weapons, throwing them recklessly without caring who they hurt. There are others who use words to heal, to teach, to elevate. But the difference lies in the purpose. If you're speaking to look smart, to prove a point, to feed your ego, your words will fall flat. But if you're speaking with a purpose to lift, to love, to guide, to warn, then your words carry weight. They leave a mark. People remember them not because they were loud, but because they were true. You can feel when someone speaks with purpose. Their voice may be calm, but it cuts deep. Their tone may be soft, but it wakes something up inside of you. That's because it's not about the volume, it's about the value, it's about what's behind the words. Are they rooted in experience, in truth, in pain, in love? Or are they just noise made to fill a silence that could have been more powerful than the message itself? Speaking with purpose means knowing the value of silence, the cost of distraction, the impact of influence. It means being intentional with your voice, understanding that every word is a reflection of what's inside of you, and choosing to honor that responsibility every time you open your mouth. Speak only when your voice adds more value than your silence. This isn't just a quote, it's a mindset, a discipline, a life standard. So many people talk to be noticed, to be heard, to feel important. But real power comes when you understand that silence is already valuable and your voice has to rise above that standard. If your words aren't adding value, you're subtracting from the moment. You're taking space instead of giving something meaningful. Silence brings peace, clarity, and presence. And if you're going to interrupt that, your words better bring light, direction, healing, strength, or purpose. You don't speak just because you have a mouth. You speak because you have a message that can impact, influence, and shift the energy in the room. When your voice has been trained in silence, it begins to speak with power. But if you're constantly talking just to fill gaps, you're never going to understand the weight of your own voice. You don't discover the value of your words by saying everything that comes to your mind. You discover it by learning when to speak and when to hold back. There's wisdom in restraint. There's mastery in knowing that sometimes saying nothing speaks louder than any words you could say. The discipline to hold your tongue is what gives your voice authority when you finally choose to use it. Think about the people who have the most impact when they speak. It's not because they talk all the time. It's because when they speak, people lean in, they listen, they feel it. Why? Because that person isn't wasting words. They've learned the value of silence and they don't speak unless they're adding to the atmosphere. They've trained themselves to hold their peace, to think before they speak, to weigh their words before they release them. Their words don't come from ego, they come from intention. They speak to build, not just to be heard. You don't have to be loud to be effective. You don't have to say a lot to make an impact. Some of the most powerful things ever spoken were simple, short, and sharp, but they carried truth. They carried experience. They came from someone who knew their silence was already strong and their words had to be stronger. If your voice isn't adding clarity, peace, or purpose, then maybe your silence is the better option. Because silence doesn't lie. It doesn't argue. It doesn't confuse. It just is. It's pure. It's powerful. And if you can match that with your words, then you got something that can change lives, open minds, and break chains. Speaking only when your words are better than your silence means you speak with integrity. You speak with presence. You speak when you've got something real to say. And if you don't force it. You don't fake it. You let the silence do its work until your voice is ready to carry the weight of something greater than the stillness it's replacing. The atmosphere. They've trained themselves to hold their peace, to think before they speak, to weigh their words before they release them. Their words don't come from ego, they come from intention. They speak to build, not just to be heard. You don't have to be loud to be effective. You don't have to say a lot to make an impact. Some of the most powerful things ever spoken was simple, short, and sharp, but they carry truth. True power comes from thoughtful, intentional speech. Power isn't in how loud you speak or how often you speak. It's in the depth behind your words. Anybody can talk, anybody can make noise, but very few know how to speak with intention. When you choose to speak with purpose, with control, with precision, that's when you start to command attention, not because you're demanding it, but because you've earned it. There's a difference between noise and a voice. Noise is everywhere, empty, scattered, and forgotten. But a voice that's trained in thought and driven by meaning stays with people long after the words have been said. It leaves an imprint. It moves hearts. It challenges minds. Speaking with intention starts before you even open your mouth. It begins with your awareness. Why are you speaking? What are you trying to bring to the table? Are you reacting emotionally or are you responding with clarity? Are you pushing ego or are you planting truth? Power isn't about volume. It's about direction. It's about impact. When your words come from a grounded place, they don't just make people hear you. They make people feel you. They resonate. They echo. They shift perspectives. When your speech is intentional, every word is like a tool in your hand. You don't just throw words out hoping something sticks. You build with them. You craft with them. You lead with them. The greatest communicators in the world speak less, but say more. They're not filling space. They're shaping it. They're not performing. They're influencing. That's what thoughtful speech does. It doesn't need drama or volume. It needs clarity, conviction, and timing. Speaking with intention means knowing the right time to speak, the right tone to use, the right message to deliver. It's not about saying what's popular. It's about saying what's needed, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's not convenient. Intentional speech is rooted in truth, but delivered with wisdom. It's strength under control. It takes discipline to be intentional. It takes strength to pause and think instead of reacting. It takes confidence to stay quiet until you have something worth saying. Weak people talk constantly because they're afraid of silence, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of not being seen. But strong people know that silence is not a threat, it's a weapon. They use it to sharpen their words, to align their hearts, to prepare their message. So when they speak, they don't miss, they don't stumble, they don't need to repeat themselves. One word, one phrase, one sentence from someone who's intentional can shift the entire atmosphere. People will remember how you made them feel through your words. They will remember your tone, your timing, your truth. When you're intentional, you don't speak to impress you, speak to impact. You don't speak to take up space, you speak to elevate it. You don't speak because you feel pressure to contribute. You speak because you've been called to deliver something that adds value, brings peace, or inspires change. Let your actions be loud and your words be legendary. In a time where everyone is broadcasting every thought, every step, every opinion, the ones who really stand out are those who don't have to say much to prove who they are. They don't need to shout to be known. Their presence speaks before they do. Their discipline speaks before their voice enters the room. That's because they've built a foundation on action, not noise. They've mastered the art of letting results do the talking. While others are busy trying to look powerful, they're becoming powerful. While others are posting about the grind, they're grinding in silence. While others are talking about what they're going to do, they're already doing it. And that's what makes their words legendary, because they don't speak from theory, they speak from experience. They speak from the trenches, they've been through it. And when they talk, you listen, not because they're trying to impress you, but because you know they've lived every word they're saying. Legendary words don't come from a loud mouth. They come from a lived life. They come from pressure, from pain, from persistence. They are earned, not manufactured. You can't fake impact. You can't fake influence. You can shout all day, but if your actions don't back it up, your words will fall flat. That's why the ones who truly move people are the ones who speak with authenticity, with authority, with alignment. What they say matches who they are. Their walk matches their talk. And that consistency is what builds trust. And trust is what makes a voice powerful. Letting your actions be loud means waking up early when no one's watching. It means putting in the reps when nobody claps for you. It means showing up even when you feel like quitting. It means being excellent in private so that your excellence shows in public. People may not notice right away, but that doesn't matter because the real ones don't need a crowd to validate their purpose. They're not addicted to recognition. They're addicted to results. And because their focus is on execution, not attention, they gain a level of respect that can't be bought or faked. When you move like that, your words start to mean more. You don't have to say a lot. One sentence can carry the weight of 1,000 speeches when it comes from a place of truth and achievement. Your voice becomes legendary, not by volume, but by virtue, not by how much you speak, but by how deeply you've lived. The fewer words you use, the more people listen because they know you don't waste breath. They know that when you speak, it's real, it's earned, it's forged in fire. So instead of trying to prove yourself with empty statements, focus on becoming the kind of person whose life proves every word they speak. That's the mark of someone who doesn't just talk about greatness, they embody it.